I want to start by saying something very clearly. This is not a video about gossip. This is not a video about politics. And it's not a video about outrage as entertainment. This is about the girls, boys, and women who were harmed. And it's about what happens when a society reacts to that harm with jokes, deflection, and discomfort instead of care. Because what I've been seeing lately around the Epstein files has left me very angry and deeply sad. Unfortunately, I'm not surprised, but I'm definitely shaken. Before I say anything else, I want to center the people who almost never get centered. The victims. People whose lives were altered and broken in ways most of us can't even fully imagine. People who did not choose fame, attention, or public exposure. People whose trauma keeps getting recycled as headlines and memes and talking points. Every time this story resurfaces, it costs them something. It re-triggers their trauma, and that matters. One of the first things that hit me this time was a meme that started circulating online. You may have seen it. It says something like, "Marked safe from the Epstein files." It's been shared, mostly by men, often with a laugh, often framed as an edgy humor. And I need to say this very carefully. Humor is not neutral. Context matters. Timing matters, and power matters. When sexual exploitation becomes a punchline before it becomes a moment of empathy, something has gone very, very wrong. I'm not saying people can never joke. I'm saying that when the first response is humor, it sends a clear message to survivors. Your pain is manageable content. Your suffering is material. Your story exists for someone else's amusement. For people who have lived through sexual violence, jokes like this it's not abstract. They're not abstract. They land in the body, in the nervous system, again and again. And it tells us that whatever trauma the victims experienced is inconvenient, uncomfortable, and better kept at a distance. This is not new, of course. We've seen it for thousands of years, again and again, whenever powerful men are exposed. Discomfort rises and people rush to relieve it. Humor becomes the pressure valve. But whose discomfort are we soothing? It's not the victims, unfortunately. We're soothing the people who do not want to sit with grief, who are not accountable, and we sit with complicity. And that choice has consequences. Then there's a moment that made my gut hurt. A reporter asked Donald Trump what he wanted to say to the victims of Epstein. And his response was, "I don't think I've ever seen you smile." That one sentence tells us a lot, because it shifts attention away from the victims. It reframes the moment as a personal interaction. It disciplines the woman, the reporter, asking the question. Smile more, be nicer, make this easier. And that's not about politics. It's about emotional literacy and power. When a man in a position of enormous influence responds to a question about abused girls by commenting on a woman's demeanor, it reinforces something many women already know, unfortunately. That tone matters more than truth. That comfort matters more than accountability. Women's expressions are scrutinized while women's suffering is sidelined. For survivors watching the exchange, the message is clear. Your pain will be redirected, your story will be minimized, and your presence is inconvenient. Then there's another part that may be the hardest for some people to sit with. The fact that Deepak Chopra has spoken about interactions with Epstein. This isn't about accusation. It's not about claiming criminal behavior. It's about discernment. When someone positioned as a spiritual leader speaks casually about conversations involving young girls and a known predator, it raises a very serious question. What does wisdom look like in proximity to harm? Spiritual authority comes with responsibility. Influence comes with responsibility. Access comes with responsibility. Many people turn to spiritual teachers for safety, for clarity, for ethical grounding. And when those figures appear insufficiently alarmed by exploitation, it creates a fracture. It suggests that spirituality and accountability can exist separately, and they can't. Wisdom without ethics is empty and poor. And silence, when you have a platform, is never neutral. These three moments may seem separate: a meme, a press exchange, a spiritual figure, but they are connected by something deeper, a collective inability to stay present with the suffering. A reflex to distance ourselves from abuse by turning it into something else. A joke, a distraction, an intellectual exercise, whatever. Anything but a reckoning. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Every time we choose comfort over compassion, we participate in the harm. That's true. It's true. Not intentionally, of course, not maliciously, but effectively. Empathy is not a performance. It doesn't require perfect language. It doesn't require public statements, but it does require some restraint. It asks us to pause before we laugh, before we shame, before we minimize. It asks us who pays the price for our ease. Empathy says, this story is not about me. If you're watching this and you're a survivor, I want to say this very clearly to you. You're not overreacting. You're not too sensitive. You're not wrong for feeling hurt by how this is being handled. Your nervous system remembers what others try to turn into noise. And you do not owe anyone your silence. You do not owe anyone your forgiveness or your resilience. This is not a call to outrage. It's a call to maturity, to slow down, to listen better, to recognize that how we respond to harm says everything about who we are becoming. If we cannot center empathy here in a case this clear and this devastating, we are totally failing as a society. There has to be kindness in power. There has to be accountability. The pain of the victims is not just theirs. To heal it, we must all feel it. Thank you so much for listening. Take care and stay safe.